Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Pixels podcast for Friday, July 24th, 2020. I hope you're all doing well. I am joined by a wonderful guest, as always, the Akko Sambo. How are you doing today, Akko?
Doing pretty well. I'm in the desert-like weather of northern Germany. But other than that, I'm fine.
It's heating up. Summer is here.
It's heating up.
Thank you for being here. Luckless was going to be joining us today, but sadly he is feeling a little under the weather, so he's resting up, and we wish him well. Hopefully he'll be able to join us at some point in the future. But we got a good show today. I think we got a lot of stuff to talk about, some exciting stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was announced. So let's see. Let's jump into, I guess, what we've been playing. I know you've had a little bit of a busy week, but what's been going on with you?
Yeah, since last week I only was able to play a little bit of Mafia 3, which I still really enjoy. I'm now a little bit further. I feel like now I reached the part where I can see kind of how the structure of the game will look like. For the rest of the game, you kind of got the introduction to how to progress. And but I still really enjoyed it. I think it's gameplay wise very solid, but the story still is really good. I really enjoy the characters, and just the atmosphere of the game still really strikes me as very intriguing and very fun and different. So I'm having a very good time with that. There was especially one main mission. So without spoiling anything, one of the main quests is pretty much that you uproot local mobs of a certain area, try to kill the mob boss to, at the end, get to the final boss, so to speak. And I did that with the first area, and it was a really cool final mission where you had to go through a very unique setting. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was a very special area where you then could either completely fire your way through, but you can also choose to be more stealthy and very sneaky in the game, which is really, really good.
I like that.
And I mostly got through that mission without having too big of a gunfights. Like there were a couple of moments where I got caught and there you have a quick exchange, but I would say like 80% of that final mission, I was able to just sneak my way through and take people out almost Splinter Cell style, which was really cool. It's a lot of fun, and I like that they give you the option of having these different approaches. And they also show in like smaller locations. I had one where I had to infiltrate a place and confront a local guy. And the first time I went through that area, I think I died or I had to return to that area. But the second time I noticed that there are also additional different paths that you can take in those areas, and almost hidden path where I could climb over a trash can to then get over a wall and then take a more sneaky route, which is really cool. And I like when games add that, and it makes the gameplay a lot more fun and interesting. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to continue with that. And I think so far it's a really, really good game.
I think it's pretty easy, if I remember right. It's pretty easy to get silenced weapons in that game too, right?
Yeah. I do have a silenced pistol at the very least, which I'm using, which also then I can use to play more Splinter Cell.
Yeah. Yeah, they showed a little bit more of the Mafia 1 remaster, the footage from that. And it looks really, really good. I'm excited to check that out when it comes out. Man, there's just too many games. I want to play through all of these games. And there's
especially since they all come out within a couple of months.
Yeah.
It seems.
That's cool though. I'm glad that you're still enjoying that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to continue with that. I can only say, like, if you want a story-focused GTA with better melee mechanics, this is where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I remember right, like you were talking about stealth, I think you can even like I remember like one of the early missions that kind of teaches you stealth. Like you can hide behind things and like pull people from in cover and like take them out. And
it's some good stealth mechanics, like legit good stealth mechanics. So that it's no joke. And I think the game got a lot of flack initially for basically three reasons from what I've gathered. For one, that some of the mid-game structure is a little bit repetitive, which I can see with some of the side quests being that way. Um, but then also, since it was a departure in theme from the first Mafia games, having the complete new setting, and now I can't compare those, but I can see that maybe happening. But since I don't have a connection to the previous Mafia games, I could just see it as a standalone experience to me. And then I think another one were some technical issues and bugs. And I did have a couple of those. There were a couple of times where I had to reload the game, especially one time where I talked to a main character, and then up until then, you then basically immediately got your optional quests on the map and knew where to go. But I didn't get that. So I wasn't sure, okay, do I now have to explore and find those places on my own or not? I was driving around a little bit trying to find it. Turns out it was just a bug and I had to reload the game. And then I got the quest points, which I'm like, unfortunately, I knew that the game has some of those bugs and it can be a little bit buggy, so I didn't spend too much time. But I think that is one of the downsides that I would raise, that there are a few gameplay bugs that you should just be aware of. And when you're aware of, it's really not that big of a deal to just reload the game as long as it fixes that. One bug that did bother me, and it happened twice now, is that when I talked to one of the main characters, and it only happened with him, and it started a cutscene, and then the cutscene stopped, but and the audio stopped also, but the subtitles continued, and you couldn't back out. And when I tried to reload it, just reloaded at the autosave right before that, because I don't think there's manual save slots. So that was a little unfortunate because I lost two cutscenes there. So yeah, it has some bugs. So far, it's not too game breaking, but it should be noted.
Can you skip cutscenes?
You can skip cutscenes, yeah. Like I could skip the cutscene, but obviously I then didn't know what happened.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad. I don't know if they just like abandoned. I mean, it doesn't really seem like they would have abandoned working on that game and trying to fix those bugs, because they're putting out the remaster, or whatever they're calling the remaster of it, and the remaster of 2 and the remake of 1 or whatever. So it seems like they would try and fix those.
But then again, I feel like from what I've heard, the Mafia fan community wasn't too fond of the third one. So maybe they just shifted focus on recreating the old glory days.
Yeah. That's cool though. I'm glad you're still enjoying that game. I am really tempted to go back to it.
It's very good.
Do you know how long it is? How long it's supposed to be?
No, I haven't looked. I mean, obviously with open world games like that, it's always a little bit. Let me check. Main story 22 hours. Main story plus extras 32. So
that's not bad.
20 to 30 hours.
I mean, it's one of those that you could probably spend 100 hours in doing all the side stuff and everything like that. But
probably, or beat it in 15 hours too, if you're like super laser focused.
Right. You been playing anything else?
I have been playing off stream a little bit of Noita. Not sure if you're familiar with that little game. That came
I have heard of that. I can't really remember what it is though.
So you won't like that aspect, but I can still highly recommend it. It is in pixel graphics, and I know that is an issue, but it's so the basic premise is that you are some kind of wizard, I guess, and you go into a mine, like kind of a mine shaft, and you have and along the way,
is it like a 2D side scroller?
No, it's not a side scroller.
Oh, okay.
It is more. I know a lot of people compared it to Terraria a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of that, but it's more of a survival game, because you go into that mine and your goal is pretty much to go as deep as possible or explore as much as you want. And I know Luck has played a bunch of it as well. and you have all kinds of different magic wands that are your weapons, and they have all kinds of different stats in terms of reload speed, mana recharge speed, how many spells you can assign to those wands, and all of these different things. And you can pick them up along the way. There are a huge variety on different spells to use, which makes it also very interesting to play around with the effect of those. More to that in a little bit. And then you there are certain points where you can then switch out those spells and can play around with that. Every time you play again, it is it's a new seed, so the mine is always a little bit different, and your plan is really just to survive the best you can. You get some gold by killing monsters and enemies down there, and then there are certain, well, not really checkpoints because you don't save there, but points where you can reassign spells, where you can heal and also spend that money. And then you just go deeper and deeper in different areas of those of that mine and that world. But one of the big features of the game is, I think, every pixel that you see is individually simulated, which means you have these
Oh,
really,
wow.
really cool environmental effects. And that is, for me, the biggest selling point of the game, is that you can really interact with the environment. So one simple example is that you have at some points in those mines little oil lamps hanging from the ceiling. So you can shoot those with your magic spell. They fall down, and they then will create a puddle of oil, which also has an effect on you. If you have oil on yourself, you're slippery a little bit. You catch fire easier. Usually when the lamp falls down, it can set fire, which then can ignite coal. And you have these crazy chain reactions that sometimes happen.
Oh, that's
And it
really
really
cool.
pays off to pay attention to your surroundings, because there's also poison and there's gunpowder, and then you have to interact with fire and water, and you kind of have to really look out to what you do and when you do it, because otherwise you might blow yourself up along the way, or an enemy that shoots fire may ignite I don't know, a pile of gunpowder that you're on. And you can also set every wooden structures on fire, which then burns down slowly, which might open up new paths. So it really pays off to pay attention to that. And there is where also the variety of spells come in, because you then have, for example, a rain cloud spell, which obviously doesn't seem very useful at first, but then you realize it creates, first of all, a lot of water, which means you can put out fire. You can also drown enemies. You can neutralize, I think, for example, like poison or oil swims on top of it. So it's also physically accurate in that sense. So
Mm-hmm.
you can use those spells that are not necessarily offensive to also traverse areas, or to play a little bit with your enemies and to figure some certain ways out. There's, for example, some fire-based elements. I don't know what they are. Let's call them a fire demon. But if you cast a fire, one of those rain clouds on them, and water gets on them, they take damage from that as well. So you can really use that to your advantage, or you can use that rain cloud to traverse a sea of lava, because then it creates a stone surface on the top, because the water obviously then cools down the lava. So it has a lot of these very, very cool effects, and they get more and more crazy as you go on. Since every playthrough is new, you then pick up different spells, and you have different wands, so you kind of have to adjust which spell fits for which kind of wand, and really, and then you can also combine them. So, for example, you have 3 slots in a wand. So you can put 3 different spells in there, or you can have 3 of the same spells, and it depends. Some ones shoot 1 at a time when you click. Some shoot 2 at a time, and then there are also modifier spells to automatically shoot 2 at a time, or that your projectile has a fire trail behind it, and like just a huge variety. And they're still working on it. It's still on early access on Steam. I can highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and although it's pixel graphics, Hal, I think you would have a blast with it, quite literally,
It
because
sounds really, really cool.
especially in the beginning when you're new to it, it's very addicting. Later on, I will say there are some things where it gets a little bit repetitive because you kind of hit a point where it just gets so crazy. But especially in the beginning when you're new to it, it's super tough. You die a lot, but it's incredibly fun because you have these unscripted moments that just stick with you when you create this crazy chain reaction, or you kill an enemy by kicking a mining cart off a cliff, and you hit them on the head, and then can pick up their gold, and all of these kind of things. So highly recommend that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it is in early access. Looks like it came out September 24th of last year. Is it PC
Okay.
only?
That I don't. I want to say I think it's on the Switch too, but I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure.
that
And I
seems
will
like a
say,
good Switch game.
yeah, and I played it when it came out, and now I took a little bit of a break. Now played it a little bit again, and they added a bunch of stuff. They changed some stuff as well. There are new spells now. They changed some areas, and it really pays off to explore everywhere you go. Because if you try it out, I don't want to take anything away, because it's amazing when you explore and find something like, what the fuck is that? And you definitely has those what the fuck moments where you are just mind blown that you just discovered this because you had the right combination of spells that made it able for you to go somewhere where you weren't able to go before because you didn't have those spells, and you didn't even think of that as an option. So thinking outside the box and trying out some things and combinations with your spells is super important, but also makes it super fun.
I agree with Drunk Possum. He says when someone talks about game mechanics so passionately as Akko talks about Noita, there is something good about it. I agree. Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks like it is in early access, but it looks like they are very close to like the full release. It's only $18, so that's not bad at all.
I think they
Um,
talked about one of the latest updates that they will increase the price a little bit for the
I saw that. I has it
uh,
already been increased?
that I don't know. I think not, because I don't think I paid more than that, but I
Okay.
don't hold me to that. So there might be a price increase soon. So maybe now is a good time to actually get it if you want to try it out. But can highly recommend it. They also added now different game modes. I think you have the standard mode, and then they have a daily challenge mode where you just play with a different seed that is for everyone the same throughout that day, which is also fun, I think. And then there are still two game modes that are still locked, but they obviously will add more to that. Also, last little feature that is very fun. They have a a nice little replay mode where you can save clips throughout from the game. And because there is so much crazy shit happening, it really is worth using that and sharing that, because it's a bummer that Lucas isn't here, but maybe if he comes over we can talk about it, because he also played Noita for a while. He had a series of nightly Noita where he played it every night, one episode, or until he died or something like that. And he shared so many cool clips of that. It's just a bunch of fun.
Very cool. That was Noita, Noita. It's currently on Steam in early access. I was looking it up. It doesn't look like there is a Switch release. Maybe they are planning on that, but I don't see any other platforms that it's currently on right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that seems really cool. I just put it on my wish list. I'm going to check it out after the stream. As if I need more games to play. So yeah, that's really cool. And I do really like those games sometimes that, like those roguelikes that, you know, you can play through an entire run in like an hour or 2 hours or something like that. I really got into oh shoot, I'm gonna blank on the name. It was Dead something. It was like a 2D kind of side scroller It was pixel graphics as well, but it was a Dead Cells. Thank you, Rook.
Mm.
Yeah. Did you ever play Dead Cells?
No, I haven't.
Dead Cells was super addicting. I bought it when it first came out, or I guess when it was in early access, and I struggled with it so much. I think that the balancing was not very well done. It was very, very difficult. But I picked it back up earlier this year, and I just got straight up addicted to it. I was playing that game like every day. It was kind of my before bed game that I would just do a run, and it was just perfect because it would take like 30 45 minutes for a full run, and just super fun, super addicting.
Yeah, and about Noita, it is really punishing, and you will die a lot. But it also feels so good when you then have a really good run, where
Yeah,
you are in there for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, get to a new record. At the end, it gives you stats about how far you gotten, and if you have a new record, it just feels so good. And the deeper you get in that game, the crazier it gets, and it is so much fun. And then it then rewards you for trying out different things, maybe dying a few times, but getting that one good run out of there is really satisfying. They did a great job with that.
that's yeah. If you can get a game like that, that's exactly how Dead Cells was. Like it was very challenging, and it's one of those games like where you first pick it up and it's like this is impossible, and I can't even get through the first level or whatever. But then you just keep trying, you keep learning the movements of enemies and things like that, and once you finally get to like the next level and eventually like beat the entire game or like beat the end boss or whatever, it's just so satisfying and so fun.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. All right. Anything else you've been playing that you want to talk about?
No, not this week. Nothing that I want to talk about.
Oh, does that mean we have secrets?
Well, I mean, all my Japanese high school dating games. I don't know if we have to talk about them.
Yeah, no, we should definitely not talk about those. Let's see. I have been playing some games. I finished up Majora's Mask.
You're not close to the end.
No, I actually finished it. This was a relatively short game, especially coming off of Ocarina of Time that literally took me like a year to beat that game. Majora's Mask was, I don't know, maybe like 20-ish hours, 25 hours or something like that. And man, this is a weird game. I enjoyed it. I definitely struggled a few times with kind of the time cycle mechanic. But for the most part, I thought it was a really good game. It was just so weird. It was like the most non-Zelda game. First of all, Zelda's not even in this game. Like she is nowhere to be found.
Well, it was just a legend then.
Yeah. But I don't really know what to say about it. It's just it's weird. It's really really weird. So if you don't if you haven't played this game and don't know anything about it, my understanding is this game was basically made in like 8 or 9 months. It came out very very quickly after Ocarina of Time, which is crazy to think about nowadays. That like they just built an entire game, within a year. So they reused a lot of assets and things from Ocarina of Time, but they also came up with like a whole new design, a whole new idea for a game, and I think that's really impressive. And kind of the main gist of the game is that Link is venturing out into a new area and gets caught up in this town that the moon is falling, and the moon is crashing into this town every 3 days. And so when the moon crashes, then it resets time, and you have to redo everything. You don't have to redo everything. Like you don't have to redo the dungeons that you finish. But there's this whole schedule. Like all these things have to be done at like certain times to do these certain quests. And then there's also this mechanic of having masks that each mask will allow you to do different things. So there's a mask that like will allow you to transform into a Zora type version of Link that will allow you to swim underwater and hold your breath for longer and things like that. And so you use those masks to complete the dungeons and discover new areas. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's just really, really weird. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I am enjoying just going through the old Zelda games. So now I finished Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Breath of the Wild. So next up, I think will be Wind Waker that I want to do. I want
Okay.
to just eventually go through like all of the mainline Zelda games. So yeah, I'm having a good time with that.
Yeah, great.
Next up, I have been playing The Surge 2. Did you ever play any of this game?
No, because I heard of the first game that it had some interesting concepts, but ultimately was more disappointing than anything else. And then I never really got around to the second one. But I heard that it is much improved to the first one.
So I actually like the first one better. um,
Nailed it.
so if you don't know what The Surge is, it's kind of like a science fiction, sci-fi Dark Souls. German developers too, by the way. They
German developers
originally,
we talk about.
I know, they originally made Lords of the Fallen. I think that was their first game, which that was basically them saying, "Hey, we want to make a Dark Souls like game," and it was one of the first like full on 3D kind of Dark Souls like games, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's received a lot of criticism, which I think is perfectly fair. A lot of people don't like that game, but I liked it for what it was. I thought that they, for their first game, I thought it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. And then they came out with The Surge, which was a very big change. It was much more of a sci-fi focused. But the best thing that I think it had was a system that instead of leveling up like stats, you have this body suit that you wear that you kind of level up. Though you level up your body by leveling up pieces of armor and things on your bodysuit. So like instead of getting +1 to endurance or +1 to your health, you get a better rig, like a better body rig or like better arm or better headgear or things like that. And the way you do that is really cool. You do that by chopping off the body or the armor pieces of the enemies. So like when
cool.
you select in Dark Souls, like where you hit the right stick and it locks onto the enemy, you can actually select like which armor piece you want to target. So in the Surge, you can select like just the arm or just the head, and the enemies have kind of like a stagger meter, and so when you build up that stagger meter, then you can actually do like an execution and chop off that particular piece of their body, and then you like get that piece of armor.
That's
So
really cool.
it's a
I
really cool
that,
idea.
Yeah, I always thought that Dark Souls, that was one of the things that I wish Dark Souls would have done more, especially with the subsequent titles, is to target limbs a little bit more. Like they did that a
Yeah.
little bit in Dark Souls 1, obviously, like with the Gaping Dragon, that you get a special weapon if you cut off the tail, or with a gargoyle. And I wonder why they never did more of that in Dark Souls 2 and 3. I think there are like a couple more instances, and there are definitely some instances where something special happens if you hit a certain spot, but not really that you get like a special weapon if you cut off a tail or something like that. And I always wish they would have played more with that mechanic, because I think that is really cool that it's not only then becomes, especially in the second run, okay, now I'm not only beating this boss or want to beat this boss, I want also this special weapon that I
Yeah.
get for doing
So
this.
that's something really interesting about the Surge 1 and 2. They both have really, really extensive New Game Plus modes, because you can go through them again, and you're not just facing like the same enemies but stronger. Like they actually add in new enemies. They actually add in new armor pieces, new weapons that you can only get in New Game Plus. So that's a really cool incentive to do a New Game Plus. But yeah, so the first game was a lot of the criticism was that it was in a much more confined environment. It was kind of like a lot of office type areas, office space type areas, and like factory and building type environments. But I thought that the level design of the first one was pretty good. I don't think it was amazing. But my problem with the second one is the level design is just a mess, in my opinion, in this game. So Dark Souls kind of, I won't say it invented this because a lot of other games did this before, but you always had this thing like where you would start out in one area and then you would go through and you would get like kind of totally lost and you fight a boss, then you'd like unlock a door and then like, oh wow, you're back at the original bonfire that you started at. So they try to incorporate that, and they do like open up shortcuts and things like that. But the problem is it makes no sense, like the way that they have these shortcuts. And it's got some kind of Metroidvania aspects to it as well. Like there's certain abilities and certain items that you need to get to access certain things that you can't access until you get like there's like a lifter hook that you can ride these cables to get to and from certain areas and make it easier to access areas. But the maps are just so confusing to me, and there's so many different areas to go, and it's a little bit more open world than the first one was, but I think that hurts it because it is open world, but it's also like still really confined areas. And it's more like there's just more branching paths than open world. And so it just makes it very, very confusing. So when this game first came out, I think it was it last year that Surge 2 came out?
Something like that.
I
Yeah.
think it was last year. I was super excited for it and started to play through it, and then I just got like really lost and confused on where to go. I got about halfway through it and just kind of just put it down for something else. But for whatever reason, I always wanted to come back, so I picked it up again, started a new game, and really was just taking my time, just going through it, just like really trying to make sure that I clear out every area and remember where everything is. And I still get lost like crazy, but but I feel like I'm having a better time with it this time because I'm exploring a little bit more in depth and just making sure that I'm finding everything. And I think I'm pretty close to the end. I think I'm like maybe a few hours away. I think I only have like one or two more bosses left, just kind of looking at some guides. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not the best example of like what a Dark Souls like game can do, but if you like those kind of games, I think it's definitely worth checking out. I still think the Surge one is fantastic, and I think I enjoy that a little bit better. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. I have also been continuing Deus Ex Human Revolution. Still having a really good time with that. That game is just fantastic. Don't have a lot more to say about it. Other than I hope so much that we get a new Deus Ex. Like I hope it's not just abandoned and they go back to it. The other big game that I've been playing is Ghost of Tsushima. So that came out last Friday.
I heard very good things.
And yeah, it's been getting I don't feel like it's been getting like crazy high good scores, but I think it's been getting like, solid 8s, some 9s in there. A few places are giving it like, 6s and 7s. But for the most part, it's pretty well received. I think I'm maybe 5 or 6 hours into the game so far. And I'm still a little unsure how I feel about it. So the basic story is that you play as, oh man, I don't know if I can remember his name. I think it's Jin Sakai. And it's it takes place, or it starts up on the night of the Mongolian invasion of Japan in the 1200s, I think it is. So it takes place in feudal Japan, where the Mongols are invading, and that's kind of the main plot, is that the Mongols have invaded, and you are just trying to uh, go through and just clear out areas. It's a very, very open world game. It feels a lot like a Assassin's Creed type game. This is very much like Assassin's Creed Japan.
That's what
Um,
I heard. Like that's what was one of the descriptions that I heard
yeah,
about
like
this.
there are just like straight up encampments that you go in and fight the Mongols, clear out the Mongols, and then you can like take back over the settlement. There's a map that you open up, and it has a bunch of question marks on it that are side quests or just little things to find. But so far, I mean, for the most part, everything is just really fun. Um, the combat is the thing that I'm not super sold on yet.
Okay.
Um, it, I think it's going to be fun. I think it is going to be fun. I think I am just struggling because it it's similar to like a Sekiro or like a Dark Souls type game, um, but there's no lock on, and that's the biggest problem that I have with it. And so the camera is really, really difficult to control, and the camera really gets in the way. Um, Especially because you will often have like 3 or 4 people that you're fighting at once, or like you're going into these groups of enemies. And I mean, there is like a very minor soft lock on that you're kind of whoever you're facing, you're kind of locked on. But the problem is there's like a lot of fast movements, and if you swing your sword, or like if they move really quickly to kind of behind you, the camera does not move, and so you have to manually adjust the camera. And that's my biggest issue that I'm having. I know a lot of people are not really struggling with that as much as I am, so it may just be a me problem. But yeah, I really, really wish there was a lock on in that game, and I don't
Hmm.
really know why they wouldn't put a lock on in that game, unless they just didn't want to be compared to Dark Souls so much. But I just really feel like it could benefit from it. But the other thing about this game is it is drop dead gorgeous. I mean, it is artistically, I think it may be the most beautiful game I've ever seen. I don't think it's
I've seen a
like,
few clips and screenshots, and it looks mind blowing.
yeah. So from like a technical point of view, I think a game like Last of Us 2 is a little bit better looking, for especially when it comes to like facial animations and just the technical side of creating a beautiful world, and crazy good looking characters in Last of Us 2. But from like an artistic point of view, this game is just beautiful. And I mean, it looks good from a technical point of view as well. It's just like the faces and the lip sync is not quite as good as something like Last of Us 2. Um, but yeah, the environments are just beautiful. It's a very saturated world. There's a lot of trees that have the leaves that are falling down, and they're just like these really pretty saturated oranges and reds. Oh, that's the other thing. The leaves in this game, it's like, I don't know what they did to this, but they must have invented their own leaf tech or something, because it's crazy how good the leaves in this game look. You will often be like fighting underneath a big tree or something like that, and there's a bunch of leaves that have fallen down. And the way the leaves move, like as you move through them, it just looks so realistic and so good. Um, they have a really, really cool photo mode in it that, I'm surprised other games haven't done this, but you can go into photo mode, and it doesn't just pause the game. It like pauses your stance, and like it pauses the enemies and everything like that. But it doesn't pause like the animation of your clothing, or like the wind or the
Oh.
leaves or anything like that. So you can create these beautiful cinematic gifs, that are just really fun to play around with, and then you can save them and share them out like that.
That's really cool.
It's a really neat way to do it. But yeah, I like I said, I don't feel like I'm really far enough in to fully get a grasp of the combat. There's some really cool skill trees. There's a lot of there's kind of a lot of different skill trees. There's like a skill tree for your weapon. There's a skill tree for like whether you're a shinobi or a samurai. You can go either or. Which I think the shinobi is more like the stealth route, and the samurai is more like the honorable route. Um, there's a really cool mechanic called standoff in this game that is more of like the honorable route. So you can go into these encampments and you can have a standoff with one enemy in the encampment, and it kind of is like a duel or something in Red Dead. So
Hmm.
like they both kind of come out and face each other, and it's a little simplistic. That's maybe my only gripe. It looks really cool, but basically all you do is you hold down the triangle button until he makes a move, then you let go and he'll just like do a really cool slash and kill him in one hit. But I mean, you can only do that with one enemy, so it's not like, it's not crazy overpowered where you can just take out all the
Mm.
enemies like that.
Yeah, sounds really good. Um, do you use the photo mode in games a lot?
I wouldn't say I use them a lot. I definitely do use them sometimes. I feel like I always open them up like one time and spend 20 or 30 minutes just messing around, and then never use them again. um, and I sometimes I wish I did use them more. Especially being a photographer, I've even thought about like getting into video game photography, so to speak, and just like really spend a lot of time in the photo mode and just like see, how great of a picture I can produce with that. And I think that could be really fun. Um, but for the most part, when I
Could be
boot up a
fun for
game,
like
I
a
just want to play the game.
yeah, it could be fun for like a year review thing where you then
Yeah,
go through like the best picture of every game you played that you
yeah.
took, like in where it was possible. Like or kind of then maybe have like a photograph of the year kind of thing.
Yeah. Rook in chat is saying about the camera stuff. He's having the same issue primarily because the attacks are tied to the face buttons, whereas in Dark Souls they're tied to the shoulder buttons. Yeah, and you also cannot rebind controls in Ghost at all outside of the PS4 system remapping, which doesn't solve the problem. Yeah, this has been a gripe for a long time of me that console games just in general do not allow you to rebind controls. And I never have understood this because it's not like it's a complicated thing. I don't think. I mean, reality's here. He can tell us. Uh, I don't think it should be that complicated to rebind controls in a game. And I've never understood why so many console games just do not allow you to rebind controls. And especially when you're someone like me and like Rook and other people that play a lot of Dark Souls games, we just get used to using those shoulder buttons as the light and heavy attack. And I just prefer that control scheme to other control schemes. But yeah, I don't understand why you can't rebind controls in so many console games.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know either.
I don't know why I was like just waiting for you. Tell me, Akko, why can you not?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm very excited to continue the game. I think the story is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like super compelling, but it's good. It's not, it's not like um the most amazing, most original story I've ever seen, but if you are a fan of samurai movies or games or just the culture in general, I think this game is highly worth checking out. Um,
Yeah, and I also read that it is, but now the uh, fastest selling Sony exclusive first game of all time, beating out Horizon Zero Dawn.
really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
or like the
Um,
first week is the highest or something like that. It definitely beat out the benchmark that was set by Horizon Zero Dawn. I think before that it was like smaller games, but
wait,
Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'm not sure I understand. Like the
It's original IPs that we're talking about. Sony
oh,
original
okay, so
IPs.
Last of Us 2 wouldn't count because that's
No,
a sequel. God of War wouldn't
yeah,
count because what about Spider-Man? Wasn't that? I mean, did they
yeah,
count that
no,
as a
because it's
sequel?
based on Spider-Man.
Okay, I got you.
It's not
So
an original
original IPs.
idea. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
so
I saw it was selling very well in Japan.
yeah.
Um, I think it had sold like 200,000 copies the first few days or something like that. Whereas, like,
Mm,
which doesn't sound like that much, but Japan usually does not really buy too many of these types of games. I think God of War only sold like 50,000 copies.
mm,
I think Spider Man only sold like 80,000 copies, something like that. So yeah, it seems like it's doing really well. So
yeah.
congratulations to Sucker Punch. I think they have something pretty good on their hands.
Yeah, and I mean, considering that this year we had so many delays and so many disappointing news in gaming, it's also good to see that, at least for the most part, that this game that a lot of people look forward to, a big release, satisfies the people and actually delivers on most of its promises.
You know,
Because
it's it.
I don't think most people were going into Ghost of Tsushima expecting it to be the greatest game of the year,
Yeah,
but kind of like looking forward to it. Oh, we're looking forward. That looks good. I'm excited to try it out, and I think at least on that level, most people feel satisfied with their experience.
this is just such a weird year. Somebody had asked me this question in chat yesterday, I think it was. They were saying, "What is your game of the year so far?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know," because I mean, thinking like the big games that have come out this year, like for me personally, Final Fantasy VII was like I had a really good time with it. It was really fun, but honestly, I was kind of let down with that game. Like in the end, just the way it ended and just the lack of kind of explanation to the story and just I have no idea what is going on with that story in that game. Last of Us Part Two was another really big one. I think that was a very good game. It was very ambitious, but like for me, it didn't work. I don't know what else has come out this year. Um,
I mean, 2020 also feels like it has been a decade.
yeah, I was the Resident Evil 3. I mean, that may be the game I actually had the most fun with this year. Um, Journey to the Savage Planet was actually a really I think that was just a really fun game for me because I was expecting so little from that game. Like I didn't really know what to expect from that at all, but that was a really really solid kind of double A just little fun adventure game. Um yeah, am I forgetting anything? Like I feel like I
I
feel
think
like
I
I'm missing
haven't
something.
played many games that released this year because most of the bigger releases, like they were just not really up my alley.
Yeah.
Like Resident Evil, I don't play horror games. There was another one along the same lines, like
Oh,
Last of Us Two,
Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal was
Doom.
a
Yeah,
big disappointment for me. Now I know I'm probably in the minority for that. I know a lot of people were really, really hot on Doom, and I understand it. It was quite a bit different from Doom 2016, and I really just wanted more Doom 2016. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year. I mean, I have a feeling. I hate when people do this. I hate when people say that this game is going to be their game of the year before the game actually comes out. But if Cyberpunk does release this year, I mean, that's probably going to be my game of the year. I mean, I can't
I mean, yeah,
imagine me
but
not
we
liking
still
that
have a
game.
bunch of games coming out all at once,
Yeah.
so we might find something nice there.
This is just such a crazy year. And it's just crazy to think about like last year we thought that we would have played like all of these games by now. because everything got delayed. We thought we'd be playing Watch Dogs and Gods and Monsters and Cyberpunk and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm curious. Everyone in chat, what is your favorite game this year so far, or your game of the year? Let us know.
Let me check what games came out, because I always struggle that at the beginning of the year. I almost always forget those. Let's see what we have. Okay, we have
Stella says Garfield Kart
January.
2. I mean, how can you beat that?
True. Is this? Why is this? Okay, January. Is there anything happening in January? Usually not, right? No.
Pi says Paper Mario.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think now that we have a few games releases actually coming again, I think now we will pick up the pace there a little bit. But as I looked through, there was also because I think one of the issues was also the beginning of the year, like January, February is usually not that strong of release month. And then the whole pandemic started.
Yeah.
And nothing got released anymore.
Rook says
So
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. Wow, Rook. I know you were enjoying that game, but that sounds really awesome. Half-Life Alyx. Man, I've got to play Half-Life Alyx. I've got to just bite the bullet and set up VR again. Such a pain to set up, but I need to play that.
Yeah, I'm just currently looking. There's really not much that. I mean, for me, I guess Yakuza 5 Remastered, if that unlocked.
Okay. Personal favorites or personal game of the years?
Ori and the Will of the Wisp came out.
That was another one that I was very excited about, but kind of let down with. It just didn't do it for me.
That's what I heard as well. That overall was fine, but nothing more.
Rick is also saying Doom Eternal.
I guess to continue the theme, it probably is Out of the Park Baseball
29. There you have it, everyone. Game of the year is Out of the Park Baseball. Yeah, that's I think that's an interesting topic since we're about halfway through the year. But yeah, let us know if you're watching this afterwards too. Let us know in the comments what's your game of the year so far is. Okay, let's see. Let's move on, and let's mention a few games that are releasing this week or next week. We have Made of Scare or Made of Skur. I don't know how you say this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't roll my R's like that. That releases on July 28th. It's a horror game. I remember seeing this. I didn't realize this was coming out so soon, but that looks pretty good.
That's part of the Dark Picture, or what is it called? The anthology.
No, I don't think that. No, that's
isn't
that's something else.
Okay.
Little Hope is the Dark Pictures.
Right.
Yeah, this is. I'm trying to remember who is making this game. I should have had this pulled up. I'll try and find out who that is. We have Hellpoint, which I don't know if you know of this game or if you've been following this. Dark Souls fans, unite! This is a science fiction sci-fi Dark Souls game. I would say this is more like a Doom meets Dark Souls. It's like Doom a very Souls. Yeah, Doom Souls. It takes place on like a spaceship, I think. I actually backed this game on Kickstarter like 2 or 3 years ago. It was supposed to come out in like 8 months. That worked out well for him. It is finally coming out on July 30th. Yeah, I think it's worth checking out. It looks pretty cool. We have Blightbound, which I think you and Luckless were actually planning on checking that out.
Yes, since Luckless isn't feeling well today, so we won't. But I may do something on it anyway. I'm not quite decided on what, but there's also a good chance that Luckless and I may check it out tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, it's coming out. This was revealed in the PC Gamer show, and I think it's coming out in early access.
Mm.
Um, what
And
kind of a
currently has
game is
an
this?
open beta going on.
Oh,
So
that's right. Yeah, they
you
have an
can,
open beta going on.
yeah, over the weekend, so you can check it out. I think I'm not sure what the exact description is, but one of the big features for sure is that it's a co-op game. Hence, Lucas and I trying to play it. And I don't know what, like an action RPG. I think
Yeah,
that
it kind
is
of looks like I mean, kind of like Diablo a little bit.
a little bit ish, yeah. You have different characters to choose from. So yeah, along those lines. Not really my wheelhouse, but since it's free, why not check it out
Yeah.
in the beta? And it does look nice and worth giving a try for sure. So we'll see how it goes.
And then we also have Grounded coming out in early access. That's the Obsidian game, which is kind of weird because it's not really a normal kind of game that they would make, but it's the I think if I'm thinking of this right, it's the one where you play as like little miniature people and everything
Oh,
is
right.
giant and it's like a survival adventure game. Um, it
It's
just
like Honey,
reminds
I
me of
Shrunk the
like
Kids.
Honey I Shrunk the
Yeah,
Kids in the backyard or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it looks interesting. It's coming out in early access. I'm pretty sure that's on Game Pass as well because that's a Microsoft first party game. And that's about it for this week. So let's see. Do you want to take a break, or are you good to keep going?
I would like a short break. Need to get something
Let's
in.
take a little break, and then we will come back, and we are going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct and the Xbox Showcase, and a couple other things, and then we'll wrap it up with the Game of the Generation discussion. And yeah, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back. Be right back, guys. And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, Akko. All right. We are going to jump in and talk a little bit about some of the news that happened this week. So, Nintendo had what did they call this? A mini direct showcase, something. they they were very clear on their when they put out the tweet for this. They were like, "Hey, we're going to be showing a few games. These are games that we've already announced, and it's going to be 10 minutes long." And so they were like, this is not going to be very exciting. So I don't think a lot of people were getting their hopes up for too much to be shown in this. But there was actually some pretty interesting stuff that happened in this. So they started out with Cadence of Hyrule, which is the kind of weird Crypt of the Necrodancer Zelda crossover. They are having an update for that is coming out. Nothing too exciting with that. They also showed off WWE Battlegrounds. Again, nothing too exciting with that. But the big thing that they dropped was a Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD remaster. So, for anybody that's not aware of what Shin Megami Tensei is, this is kind of what Persona was before it was Persona. Um, I'm pretty late to the game when it comes to Persona. I got into Persona 5, as I'm sure a lot of people did as well. But my understanding is they had these Shin Megami Tensei games that were basically Persona up to like the first 2 or 3. And then they kind of branched out into their own thing and became Persona, and then Shin Megami Tensei kind of branched out and became its own thing as well. The Shin Megami Tensei games were for a while just on the handheld 3DS or DS console, and I think Shin Megami Tensei 3 was on the PS2 as well. But a lot of hardcore fans with that game, and they are remastering it and putting it on the Switch. So I think that's really awesome. I've always wanted to kind of go back to some of those games. I've even got I think Shin Megami Tensei 4 for the 3DS that I've been wanting to check out. But yeah, if you like Persona, I think you would probably like these games. I think they're worth checking out. They're made by the same developers. And then we got a new trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5. So this was originally announced back in 2017. Uh, they just put up, a splash screen that said Shin Megami Tensei 5, and everybody went crazy because, again, these have a very hardcore fan base, which is awesome. But they put this up and everybody was super excited about it, and then we literally just heard nothing about it. Atlas would every now and then just kind of say like, hey, yeah, we're working on this game. But they put out a full-on trailer for it, and it will be releasing in 2021. I think the big notes to take away with this is they said it's going to be a worldwide simultaneous release. This is the very first Atlas game that'll have a worldwide simultaneous release. Typically, they release these games in Japan first, and then they do all the translation, and it takes them about 6 months or so to get it ready and bring it to the rest of the world. So I think it's really cool that they are bringing that out at the same time. They also said Shin Megami Tensei 3 is coming out October 30th in Japan, and then it'll be early next year for the US and the rest of the world. Yeah, 5 simultaneous release. I think that's really cool. I would imagine since Nocturne is coming out early next year, they're probably shooting for late next year, which means that it's very highly that will get delayed to 2022. Just prepare for that. But we at least got some news, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's certainly cool. And like ODM said, I was pretty sure of that as well. Persona is actually a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. So
right.
Shin Megami Tensei is the OG of that,
the original.
And, yeah, I think it's cool to see though that probably because of the worldwide success of Persona 5, that you now get a simultaneous worldwide release. For example, the Yakuza game still also first released in Japan and then way later.
Yeah, a lot of Japanese games do that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know there were some people that were disappointed about the Nintendo Direct. I think a lot of people are just more disappointed about Nintendo in general right now, just because we're not getting a lot of news. And I definitely understand that, but I mean, this is just a weird time.
Yeah.
This is just a weird time with everything going on. So I think they deserve a little bit of slack, but I don't know. I still understand.
I prefer them going out and saying like, "Hey, this is a 10-minute thing."
I think they,
won't be anything groundbreaking.
We always talk about
something for you.
Yeah, we always talk about them setting expectations. And I think that they set really good expectations here. Like they said, this is not going to be anything exciting. These are all games that have been released or that have been announced. We're not announcing any. I don't think they said like these are third-party games that have been already announced. We're just giving you some updates, and I think that's perfectly fine. So all right, let's move on to the main event, I guess. Yesterday, Xbox had their big showcase. So they had a showcase back in May that they showed off third-party games for the Xbox Series X. And they said, stay tuned, we're going to show off more. And then PlayStation came out with their thing, and they showed off like first-party and third-party. And everybody was like, oh, PlayStation wins hands down. But we hadn't seen the actual first-party games from Xbox, and so they showed off quite a bit of stuff yesterday. So we're just going to kind of go through everything. I'll pop this up on the screen too, so you guys can just kind of check some things out. But let's see. Let me get my notes here. So they started with Halo Infinite. First of all, I have a huge gripe to pick with this because you can see on the screen, they literally pop it up on the screen, and they said that there's a demo. They say press start to start the demo, and I was like, hold on, are they dropping a demo for this? This would be huge. And it blows my mind that they didn't drop a demo for this and start it the way that they did, because that would just be perfect to say at the end of this, like, and you can play the demo right now.
I think the reason for that might be, and that is obviously just, I need the glasses for that probably, since I'm already starting that way.
Oh, here we go.
It's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but no. But my theory on that is also watching the trailer. It does not look very finished to me. I hope, because like some of the background assets were very rough. I felt, and I wonder if they wanted to maybe drop a demo or show more, but because of the
maybe they just didn't have it ready.
Yeah, and didn't have it to the point polished where it would make sense to release it now and then everyone crapping over it because it isn't running well, because it's not yet at the point where it should be in the process. I don't think that that necessarily is a bad sign for the release. I just think that maybe they hope that at this point they could show more, but weren't really able to, because like I'm not a heckler for the best graphics at all, but like some of the things in that, like for showing off like a new gen and everything, I mean that's not very impressive. I'm not a Halo fan, so the nostalgia with that, I never played a Halo game. I have nothing against Halo either, but it's just okay. There's nothing really that sets it apart for me, aside from maybe people being excited of a new Halo. And when you then see first impressions for the next gen product, and some of it looks a little bit rough in my opinion, but maybe it's just me.
No, it's not just you. So that's what was so disappointing, I think, about this. Yeah, this was supposed to be, I mean, this is like their flagship game, right? This is their flagship series. And this should be like the best of the best of the best with honors, sir. And it just looks okay to me. Like it looks like a Halo game. But yeah, there were
on the current gen, right? Like it looks good, but it also doesn't show me anything that I haven't seen, and maybe I'm expecting too much. But other than that, it looks like if you don't see the Master Chef or whatever his name is in the beginning,
Master
and like,
Chief, yeah,
see,
Master Chef,
and see the Halo name, then you would see like, yeah, that's a sci-fi shooter.
I would have thought this was like Destiny or something like that.
Destiny, Anthem a little bit, and now obviously Destiny and Bungie are very heavily connected. But I think it just looks, it looks like a shooter. Might be fun, might not be fun, but it doesn't really give me much that to hold on to really. And I heard I read like one of the new features. Obviously, it's on the grappling hook, but I mean, I feel also like at this point, every game has grappling hook.
I was about to say the grappling hook is the new bow and arrow. Every game this year has a grappling hook.
It adds verticality to your gameplay, which is great. It's fun, but at the same point, like it's also nothing that at this point blows me away. And again, I don't want to be too harsh on it because it is just a demo. We don't know.
I think
maybe it is not as far as it is, and like in all honesty, from what I gather, like the Halo franchise never really like. A demo wouldn't really get you what this franchise is really about. It's like then the actual gameplay and like the experience itself. So I'm not saying it will be bad by any means. I'm just saying, just based on the trailer, that Halo Infinite trailer doesn't blow me away.
So you know me, I like to try and be very positive. I like to try and always look for a positive spin on things. I will say, I think the game looks good. I think it looks fine. I think it looks fun. There's some pretty bad pop-in textures there, but that's the thing. I think that like we need to be critical on this because this is supposed to be the flagship game for the Xbox Series X, and this just does not look great. like this is supposed to blow us away, with not just the
Yeah,
graphics but the gameplay, and this just looks like an average at best, just kind of sci-fi shooter. Um, and
in a weird twist of events, I'm the positive one here.
I know.
Um, but, because like I totally agree with you. I will give them the benefit of the doubt because of the pandemic situation. Because like I can see like especially like things like the pop in textures and stuff like that. Like if their development process has been delayed to a point where like usually we wouldn't see those things, but at this point they had to show us something, especially with like the first showcase wasn't really a disaster, but they knew they had to deliver, so maybe they felt like they have to show us Halo now, and in a way they had
Well, they
to
did because they
so
announced this game 2 years ago.
exactly. So everyone knew it was coming, and like we're getting close to the release of the new console and all that. So they had to show us something, and I can understand that maybe due to the world being crazy right now, they themselves couldn't be as far as they wanted to while still on track for release.
I
But I agree that it obviously doesn't help build hype, and like I mean that sounds harsher than it actually meant to, but
Yeah,
like this kind of looks it, it looks like a little bit like Mass Effect Andromeda. Like
yeah.
it's nice, like nice environment, like it's fun action, sci-fi action, but it also like we've seen all that in other games, and so yeah, maybe I hope it. I hope that it really just is the fact that production plans have been delayed and thrown over, and that is why that is why things changed and might not look as great and as impressive.
I
But I
so
think we
I
need to.
completely I completely agree with you. Like, yeah, this year has been a mess, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that their schedules have been wrecked, and they deserve some credit for just doing what they have done. But at the same time, like, even if this game was unfinished, what they are showing me just does not excite me. Like, and maybe I just wanted too much, but what I so let me back up a little bit. I've never played a Halo game. I've tried. I've played a couple of them. Never gotten more than like a few hours into them. They always seem like just kind of, fun shooters to me. But they always just feel like the kind of game that, I mean, I don't want to stereotype here, but I am. They're just like the games that you played in college, or like when you were in high school with your buddies, and that's perfectly fine. But we've grown up, like gamers have grown up, and when you look at a game like God of War, what God of War did for the God of War franchise, that's what I wanted. God of War, the newest one, 2018. That's what I want from Halo. Like, I want them to just throw everything that they've done out the window and start fresh. Give me something
But
really
the question
unique.
the question there is that what the actual Halo fans would want? Because obviously you are not the target audience, since you tried some Halos, are not a big fan. But there is a
Yeah,
huge community of Halo fans, and I mean maybe this is exactly what they want. I don't know. I haven't really seen any reactions to this. I only watched it myself a little bit of the footage, and seen like a couple of articles pop up about it, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't excite me either. I never had an Xbox, and I never played any Halo games, and wasn't really particularly interested by it either, because for me it just always felt just like maybe a really good first person shooter, but I'm not really into first person shooters, so there's that. And the little bits of pieces of story that I heard, I feel were always a little overhyped, because maybe the game was a lot of fun, but the story itself sounds very generic sci-fi action. No offense if it is different. Again, I haven't played it, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But
I think
so I
there
was
is
never
quite a bit
really
of.
too.
I think there is quite a bit of lore to the series. I think there's like books and comics that go along with it. But I guess what we should say is, like we are both not really Halo fans, so do let us know. Like if you were a
Yeah.
massive Halo fan, what did you think of this? Are you excited for this? Did this get you excited, or are you worried? Like, does this just kind of look like the same old, same old? Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because that is what
please
it's
let
really
us
about.
know.
Like, you are the target audience. We're
Yeah,
not necessarily.
I guess what I
And
had.
obviously, yeah, you will always want to engage new people, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if you like, I for myself, like, there's probably not really any first person shooter where I would get super hyped about, just because it's not my type of game. So for the Halo fans out there that are the plenty, let us know, either on the Discords or on comment sections across the world of
That's
this
right.
podcast. What do you think about the trailer, and not just this one, but also the other ones that we talked about? But what are your thoughts on the gameplay? Does it excite you? Do you think do you think it was great, or do you maybe are not a fan of this showcase, but still are very much excited for the game, or is your excitement a little bit dampened by it?
Yes, let us know. I really do want to know, and curious to hear about that. Okay, moving on. They announced State of Decay 3, which I thought this was a little surprising, announcing a sequel so soon, because I think that game has only been out maybe like 2 years. State of Decay 2 did okay for them. I think it reviewed fairly well. I don't think it was anything, a huge standout for them, but I think it did pretty well. They just showed a cinematic trailer of just a girl kind of wandering around out in a forest in a snowy environment. Don't really get a whole lot of information about this. It's just purely a cinematic trailer. No release date on that or anything. Moving on from there, they announced a new Forza Motorsport game, and they said it's going to be running at 60 FPS, which I thought the original game, or the game for Xbox One, already ran at 60 FPS. Um, I they still need to tell us so much more stuff about this, because I know that one of the big things of the Series X is that it can run at 120 FPS. So it would be interesting if they could give you like a 1080p 120 FPS versus a 4K 60 FPS option.
Mm.
Um, Rare announced a new game. They announced Everwild.
That looked
Um,
neat.
this looks interesting. I don't really know what the gameplay is. It's very colorful, kind of cartoony. It looks like it's going to be maybe kind of like an adventure game.
Mm.
Definitely want to find out more about this though. Moving on from that, we got Don't Nod, that announced they make the Life is Strange games. They announced Tell Me Why. I almost said Tell Me Lies, but that's a different game. This looks very much like Life is Strange. So if
Mm.
you have played Life is Strange, I wonder if this is even in the same universe.
I
It
wonder.
just
Yeah.
it looks very similar. But did you ever play any of the Life is Strange games?
I played it, the original Life is Strange. I played then, what was it called, Before the Storm.
Yeah.
And I also started Life is Strange 2, but didn't finish it because, for one, I've had it with a insane amount of wait time in between episodes. It was like half a year in between
Yeah.
episodes 1 and 2 or something like that. And it's just, I can't. I get it, but like, at least give me a set schedule in which you want to release the game. Um, because I do, to some degree, I do like the episodic concept, because it gives you something to look forward to and get excited about. But it needs to be a regular interval that you get them. And like, I felt like, okay, maybe it comes out in 2 months, maybe it comes out in 6 months. It's almost like playing Final Fantasy these days. And
Oh,
and
that's
then also I
years
just
between
didn't.
those releases.
And then I also just didn't enjoy episode. I think I played episode 3, but I at least episode 2 I really didn't enjoy either. So I dropped it there. But I'm a big fan of Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm.
Yeah, I still really want to play those games. I know that was a big criticism, though, with especially Life is Strange 2, how long it was taking for those episodes to come out. I remember people saying, like, episode 4 would come out and they'd be like, I forgot what happened. I have to replay. So I'm torn. I do like the episodic format like that, but I agree. I think it needs to be quicker. I think like
2 months is a good thing.
I was going to say 3 months, but yeah, like 2 to 3 months. I think 3 months at the most. I think ideally you would want to play through like the entire game in a year. You would want to try and get that entire game out in a year. And I think that's just the problem with episodic games, or with that formula. The Dark Pictures is trying to do that as well, and they have like 10 of these games, I think, that they're putting out, and their original plan, or it might be 8. Their original plan was to put one out every 6 months, and they are going to be over a year now between the first one and the second one that they're putting out. And so it's like, man, this is going to take, 8 years to get all of these games. So I like the idea of episodic formats. It just doesn't seem like it really works. It always comes back to this problem that game developers are just really, really bad at guessing how long it's going to take to finish these games. Or maybe not even, maybe bad is not the right way of putting it. It's just very difficult to estimate how long it's going to take to
it's either
complete
the devs
these
or the
projects,
publishers, depending on it. But I just feel I understand the concept, obviously, but I also feel like it almost like you gotta have an idea that when you release episode 1, how long it will take to finish episode 2.
You would think,
right? You would think, because like you could like. I doubt that they don't start from scratch on episode 2 when they finish episode 1. But if there are 5 or 6 months in between episodes, it's almost if they're just starting a new game. Like we talked about, they programmed Majora's Mask in 8 months. Like, that's 1.5 episodes.
Different times, very different.
I mean,
times.
obviously it's different, but at the same time, I just feel like if you do this episodic thing, I agree that you should finish the entire story within a year. I think that is a good timetable to have. That if you come out in January and you play through a season of this game, you should finish it at the very latest in December. I think, and that is then cool. It is something that then accompanies you throughout the entire year. I think that is a cool concept, but you got to stick to it. You got to have that. You probably need to have most of all the episodes probably already finished, maybe able to tweak things based on but that you're basically, in terms of the entire game, you should be at 80% or so.
That's what that's what I always said, is why don't they just basically like finish the game and then split it up into parts and put out part 1, and then they are basically like already ready to launch the second part,
Yeah. And I know to a degree it also has to do with financing the game and all of that, but like I feel like then I'd rather wait another year for Life is Strange 3, but then they finish, or like are basically at 80-90% finishing of the entire game, are able to tweak certain things if they have to, or maybe adjust some things down the line for the later episodes, but that they can adhere to a schedule, and that also that they are able to tell me when I buy episode 1 of that season that they give me a timetable when the next episodes will come out.
Yeah. You can also do what I do. What I've started to do is just wait for them to all come out and then just play it. I think that's probably the best way to do it now. But okay, let's move on. We've got an expansion for Outer Worlds. Oh, also, I want to mention really quick. Tell me why the first episode will be out August 27th, followed 2 years later by the second episode. No, I don't know. First episode is coming out August 27th. There is an expansion for Outer Worlds. I almost said Outer Wilds. Outer Worlds expansion coming out for that September 9th. And they announced that there will be 2 expansions for that. So the first one is coming out September 9th, and then the next one will come out, I'm assuming, next year sometime.
Probably.
Let's see. Next up, we got a very exciting announcement. This may be one of the most exciting ones for me. I don't know if you saw this. This is a new Obsidian game. This sounds like the game that they are really hot on making, really wanted to make. This is called Avowed. We didn't get a whole lot from this, other than it's a RPG. Just basically a cinematic trailer with like the very end just showing like a set of hands and pulling out a sword. Um, but it looks very much like a kind of Elder Scrolls RPG type game. No word on when this is coming out. I imagine this is probably a ways away, probably 2 to 3 years, but very, very excited for this.
Yeah, that was probably the one for me that got me most excited.
I was really. Go ahead.
No, I'm not a big first-person fan, but I mean, I enjoyed Skyrim, and like having like in kind of like a clone to that, but obviously well made. Sure, give me some fantasy.
It made me really nervous when Microsoft bought Obsidian, and then their first game that they announced was Grounded, which was that survival adventure game. I was like, oh no, is this what they're making them do? Like, Obsidian, please blink if you're being held hostage. But
they
no,
do the
it's
same that they did with Rare back.
Yeah,
Rare did so many great things. Like was like basically defining our childhoods, and then they go to Microsoft and do like weird things.
But yeah, I'm excited to see that it looks like they're really working on something that they really want to work on and something that they're very passionate about.
And maybe it's one of those deals where Microsoft is like, yeah, okay, so the deal is we give you money. That is, you have to deliver that, but then you can also use that money to do your other project.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's that.
Moving on, we had As Dusk Falls. Don't really know what this is. They say it's an interactive drama. The trailer that they showed kind of has like a hand-drawn art style with like stills that are kind of, it looks almost kind of like a comic book or something. Don't really know a lot about it. Looks like it could be really good, but could also be just like kind of a visual novel. Not really sure what it is.
Almost looks like more of a visual novel approach.
Yeah, I like the art style though. I think it looks kind of cool.
It's a fun idea.
They mentioned just very briefly Hellblade 2. Did not really get a whole lot of information about this, which I was a little sad about. I was kind of hoping that this would be maybe like a launch title, but the way they're talking, it sounds like this game could still be pretty far off. Like they really didn't give any information about this.
Yeah, I would have expected if it would be a launch title or close to launch that we would have gotten a little more details on that by now. Since it's like we already know that it exists, that announcement was already done, so it's now okay. But if it would be anytime soon, you would assume that we get a targeted release date or a little more information about the game itself.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my general complaint with this overall presentation is they showed off a lot of games, but very, very few release dates, very few ideas on when any of this stuff is coming.
Yeah.
Next up, they showed Psychonauts 2. They also showed that Jack Black is apparently working with them. He's doing some of the music, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lots of people excited for this game, though. I never played the first Psychonauts, but I know it has a very dedicated fan base, and I know a lot of people are excited about this.
Yeah, same here. I never played it, but that was from the little bit that I gathered. Lots of people are excited for that, and could be certainly one of the better titles in the end they announced.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Akko. I am crazy excited for this. Okay. This came out of nowhere. So they showed they showed a trailer. Okay, well, they showed a little bit of Destiny. Oh, this was actually pretty big news. I didn't write this down, but they did show that Destiny 2 is coming to Xbox Game Pass and is including all of the expansions. So that's pretty big news. Those are
Yeah,
each one of those expansions are normally like $40, I think.
that's pretty good. Yeah,
So yeah, pretty cool. Uh,
is that the 10-year plan Bungie had?
to make Destiny 1 and then break away
And
from
then
from what was the company that they broke away from?
Activision.
Activision, and then to
Yeah,
come back to Microsoft, and
with Destiny 2, and then
yeah,
have go back on Game Pass that didn't exist at the time.
it,
So
it was they were playing the long game.
smart, smart.
Yeah, okay. Next up, this just blew me away. So they announced
Okay.
Stalker 2 is officially in development, and this is, I think, like this has been a weird announcement because Stalker 2 has been rumored. They kind of announced this game a couple of times. I think at one time, like, they even announced it like back in 2018, and they said like it's coming in 2024 or something like that. But
Could still be true.
it could be. I am just incredibly excited for this though, because the original Stalker was one of my favorite games. Came out in 2007. It was by a smaller team that made this game. I think it was PC only. It was an RPG, but it was set in Pripyat, where the nuclear meltdown disaster happened back in '86. And you play as a stalker who travels into the zone to find artifacts and uncover kind of a weird mystery that's going on there. It's a really cool game. It's one of the most immersive and atmospheric games I've ever played. Still to this day, I think it holds up really well. And so yeah, they officially announced this game. No word on when it's coming out, no release date. It's a cinematic trailer, but I am crazy excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean that definitely came out of left field. We saw a lot of people being surprised by that. I didn't play the first Stalker; it always looked too spooky to me, and especially like with
Very spooky.
radiation horror. Nope, noping out of that. But yeah, I noticed that lots of people are excited about it, and yeah, cool addition to the showcase.
The next game they announced was a roller coaster of emotions for me because they announced a game called Dark Tide, and when I first saw it, it's a cinematic trailer, and they have kind of like some futuristic kind of sci-fi soldiers, kind of wandering around in a spooky looking environment, and I was like, oh, this looks really good. And then all of a sudden they pop up and there's a bunch of zombies. And I was like, oh no, not zombies. Not another zombie game. And but then it was like, oh well, actually, I don't know. This still looks really good. And then someone in chat was like, oh, this looks kind of like Warhammer, kind of 40K. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And I was like, oh, that could be really interesting. And then I noticed, I was like, wait a second. There's 4 players here. They're showing them all together, and I was like, is this a 4-player co-op game? So it's a 4-player co-op game. There's going to be a lot of people excited for this. It looks kind of like a 40K Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead is a massive game. People love that type of game. It's just not for me. I much prefer single player story driven games, but I think it looks really cool. I think they put 2021 on there, but it was just a cinematic trailer, no real gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously you add zombies, you have me out of there. But yeah, if it's a cool multiplayer option like Left 4 Dead, why not? And I heard good things of people who good things about Vermintide.
Yeah,
So
some people
yeah,
in chat are mentioning Vermintide. Yeah, I am kind of confused because I think that was what Vermintide 1 and 2 were kind of trying to do. Although I think
Mm,
with that, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that a little bit more like melee focused? I think you had a little bit
I
more
think so.
melee weapons and that kind of stuff. This looks like it's more of a shooter. I
Yeah.
don't know a whole lot about the Warhammer or 40K universe, so I don't really know how all that fits in. Um, yeah, next up they announced, this was kind of weird for me. They announced I guess this is an updated version of Tetris Effect, which Tetris Effect
Mm,
10 out of 10. I love Tetris Effect. If you haven't played it, if you're a Tetris fan, play it. It's fantastic. Um, but they announced this is coming to Xbox, and they said it has like an optimized single player, whatever that means, and also an all new multiplayer that's coming holiday 2020.
okay.
Let's see. I lost my notes. Next up is possibly the worst title ever for a game, but it's called The Gunk. Um, it's made by the people that make SteamWorld, and it kind of has that same art style, but it's more of a 3D world. Honestly, I think the game looks really good.
Yeah.
Don't really know a whole lot about it. I don't know if this is gameplay that they were showing. It looks like gameplay, but it looks kind of like a cool sci-fi world. You've got some gadgets and weird things that you're doing. I'm guessing you're doing something with all this gunk. Maybe you're cleaning it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool
Yeah.
though. I wanna find out more.
Like
Uh,
with the vacuum mechanic, it's almost like Luigi's Mansion, just
I
with
was gonna
gunk.
say, man, I loved Luigi's Mansion so much. Just I played that with Vermalt. Vermalt and I played that together, and we literally
Mm.
just spent like the entire time just vacuuming up every single bit of thing in every single room. It was so fun. Next up, they showed off a really, really good looking trailer for Medium. This is the game that was announced. I don't remember when this was announced. I think it was actually announced during the first Xbox conference earlier this year in May. But this is from the developers that made Observer and Layers of Fear, and
Mm.
this is a horror game. It has a really weird dual world system to it that they're calling it. So you can both worlds are rendered simultaneously, and I believe there's going to be a way that you can like swap between the worlds. It's a really really cool idea. Dual reality gameplay they're calling it. Two worlds
Yeah.
rendered simultaneously. That seems really cool. It kind of reminds me of there's a level in Dishonored 2, if anybody ever played Dishonored 2, that you use a kind of a weird mirror thing to look back in time, and it changes the environment, but it's in the same universe. And then there's also like a Titanfall 2 level that you do kind of a similar thing.
It looks really cool. Like again, nothing that I would ever get close to, but it looks like a very cool concept for a horror
Very
game.
Silent Hill as well. Rook is reminding me that this has the same composer as Silent Hill 2. I think they even
Mm,
said that they got a lot of inspiration from Silent Hill.
yeah.
I'm really, really excited for this. I think this is coming out pretty soon as well. I think it's scheduled to come out this year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see that working very well. I don't think it will be bad or good. It will probably be medium.
Oh well, there you go. Um, next up, they showed off fantasy. What is this called? Fantasy Star Online 2. This game finally came to the West after being in Japan for I think like 6 or 7 years. This game came out earlier this year on Xbox and PC, and they are releasing a new expansion for that called New Genesis. I want to try this game out. It's on Game Pass, and it's an MMO, but it's an MMO, so I probably won't play it because I just can't ever get into MMOs. But it looks really cool. It looks really pretty, and it looks fun to play.
It looks like the perfect Game Pass game in that sense that it's like, oh, this looks cool. Let me check it out
Yeah.
without any additional costs or risks.
Yeah. Speaking of games that's been out for a while, they showed off a trailer for. So I was a little confused by this. This game is called Crossfire X. They originally announced this last year, I believe, at the Xbox press conference. And this game is a game that's been out in China for a couple of years. It was a multiplayer only game, kind of a Call of Duty type game. But apparently they're making a full on single player game for it. And what really caught my eye was it said that Remedy was working on it, which they are the people that have made Max Payne and Control. Really, really like that developer. So I'm really, really intrigued by this. Not so much of the multiplayer, but they said that this is like a standalone single player campaign they are making for this.
Yeah, I mean,
I know this is not your kind of game.
well, not just that. I just feel like we'll see. Like there's especially with these
You
types of
sound skeptical.
with these types of first person shooter single player games, there is a lot of over promising in terms of how epic it will be, and obviously it always then looks great action wise in the trailer, but like let's see how the gameplay is. And that Remedy is involved is great, but I also wonder like how much are they involved? Um, if
Yeah,
it
I'm
is
curious about that
if it
too.
was already out as a multiplayer, is it really just to like polish up the single player experience, or are they deep working in? But yeah, like doesn't get me going.
I'm excited for it. All right. Last up, they wrapped up with a new Fable game. So this was rumored. There were lots of rumors about this. Playground is working on it, which I think is interesting. They have been the developers of the Forza games. But yeah, they are working on. I think they just straight up call it Fable 4. So Fable.
Really, I only have heard Fable, and I heard
Are they just calling it
it's
Fable?
kind. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Oh,
not.
maybe, yeah.
Have they now confirmed that it will actually be a sequel?
I don't know where I got that from. I thought for some reason they were just putting the 4 on there. It could just be like a God of War type thing where they're just rebooting it.
Because I also saw some speculation whether or not that is even a new Fable or just a complete remastered or an MMO. Like I'm not sure.
Oh goodness, I
Like
hope it's not
I've
an
heard,
MMO.
I've read people speculating about it, and haven't read anything that would confirm that that's not the case. So I'm not
Well,
sure. Maybe someone in chat knows
I guess
and
that's
can let us know.
part of the problem with this announcement is it's just a straight up cinematic trailer.
Yeah,
There's no date on this. I mean, I have to imagine this is years away. Um, this kind of bugs me a little bit. This is kind of like the Bethesda putting up the 20-second teaser for Elder Scrolls 6 and be like, "We're working on it. We don't know when it's going to come
yeah.
out." um, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice to have the acknowledgement that it's coming. I'm definitely not going to get too hyped about it until I really get some more news about it. But I know a lot of people really, really loved the Fable games, and so I really hope that this turns out to be good. Microsoft just really needs some of those standout franchises that they just haven't had. I feel like Sony has had for a while.
Yeah, we talked about it. I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before when we were talking about what Microsoft would need, and one of the things that we talked about is that something like Fable, like really that gets really people going. But the, it was not enough because now we don't know, is it a new Fable, like a new Fable? Is it a sequel, prequel? Is it a standalone? Is it in the same world but has nothing to do with the previous games? Is it a reboot? Is it a complete remastered edition? Is it an MMO? And it's like just give us something to at least slash onto, but we have no date, no specifics. and it's nice. I'm excited. I never played a Fable game, and maybe that will then be for me um, a point where then I get to try them and try it out. But yeah, it is also not the home run that I think they would have needed.
Yeah, so that wrapped up the presentation of the announcements, and I think that is kind of like my general consensus is that like the announcements were good, but it's like, man, I just want them to just knock it out of the park. I want them to blow me away. And every one of these announcements is like, well, that was good, but I want to know more. Right?
Yeah, it's like there's always a but for
Yeah.
every one of these announcements, and it's we just didn't get enough tangibles really to like grasp onto and be like, hey, this is a date that we can look forward to, or this is a feature that we could look forward to, or this is a new IP that we could like. I will say it was overall much better than the first showcase. It had like there were more things that intrigued me. There were bigger names. I think generally speaking, the excitement about it was better, and we got to see some cool stuff. So definitely a step in the right direction here. But at the same time, I also think, and for whatever reason, again, could be because of the pandemic or plans changing or whatever. But I feel like there was potential for more here with the same announcement. There was potential for more there, but we didn't really get more, which is a little bit of disappointing. Overall, though, I mean, I hate to be the good guy, but overall, overall, I think yeah, it wasn't bad at all. They had a few announcements people didn't expect. Some semi-large names in there, like Stalker, not the biggest franchise, but people recognize that and people are excited
So
about
excited
it.
for that.
You are super excited about it. Then obviously the expected big names like Halo Infinite, and then with Fable something speculated but not confirmed. So we also got that as a big name to look forward to. I think overall it was nice, sprinkled in with a few um, lesser known titles or new IPs that look intriguing, like Medium or the Gonkomart 2000 or whatever. The so
Gunk?
I think I think overall it was good conference, all things considered, compared with others, because in the end PlayStation didn't do much more either. Like they had the bigger IPs and the bigger names, but that is also kind of because they had the groundwork of the last generation for that, a lot of it at least, I think. So I think that was a decent showcase.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like I said, I really wanted them to just blow me away, and they didn't do that. I'm still waiting. I mean, I feel like I'm still waiting for just so much information. Mainly, which I knew they even said before, like they weren't going to talk about the console at all. But I still just want to know when this thing is coming out. Because we have so many games that are announced and just no release date other than like, yeah, it's coming out this year during holidays sometime.
Yeah.
And if we just
We
knew
don't
when,
tell you which holiday.
if we just knew when these consoles were coming out, and maybe they just don't know. You have to think that like they have an idea though, because it's getting so late that they've got to start getting these things ready.
I think Sony and Microsoft are playing chicken
I
as to
they
who draws
are,
first.
and I think that that's good as far as price goes because like they're really they're probably going to really compete on that. But man, just tell me when I'm going to get to play these games. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good announcement. Good gracious, somebody torturing a child out there?
Yeah, it is. That child insulted Medal of Honor, so Medal of
Oh,
Honor guy is upset.
well, there you go. How dare you insult Medal of Honor? Um. So yeah, we'll. I'm sure that they're going to have more of these. I'm sure they're going to have another uh, announcement sometime soon. I hope that's going to tell us when we're actually going to get to play the games when it's going to be announced and the price. Same thing with PlayStation. But yeah, I want to see more. Okay, let's see. Moving on. Let me move this back. I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for things. Let's just move on to our games of the generation discussion,
I
which we
will
were.
say before we move on,
Mhm.
there was the release date for Yakuza 7
Oh, I'm
announced.
sorry, I forgot about this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was announced. Remind me, I wrote that down. November
You had
23rd.
November 23rd. I actually saw it
Yeah.
was earlier though. I saw November 12th.
Okay. Um, I
These are
got it
all
from
unconfirmed
one
though.
release article. Maybe okay, in November. But we got a release date for Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon, which moves the franchise to a turn-based combat system
I
for the
am
first time.
very excited for that.
Yeah, and obviously it has been out in Japan for a while. But another interesting addition to that announcement was that it will also be fully dubbed in English as well. So that is, I mean, I will still play it in Japanese with subtitles, but I also know that is very hard to follow for a lot of people, and especially if you're new to the franchise, this probably is a good way to jump into the new phase of these games, since I think the original saga, for the most part, is ended, and now with the move to turn-based combat, I think that is a good cut in that series to jump in, and they're now fully English dubbing as well. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this is kind of weird. But PC Gamer is saying that the Steam page does not have a release date, as well as other storefronts such as the Windows Store list the date as November 13th.
Okay.
But it also doesn't seem like they've officially stated when the release date is going to be. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Sometime in November.
Yeah. I think a couple of other quick notes were for one, Rocket League moves to a free-to-play model. And is now available on only on the Epic Games Store to purchase, I guess, for free. But if you have Rocket League on Steam, you can still continue playing it from there, I think, or at least your account will transfer over. I'm not sure about the specifics, and you get some extra loot for that. But that is a pretty big move. I know Rocket League has a big esports community, so that should be noted. And then also Star Wars: The Old Republic now available on Steam.
Yeah. So, man, it's an MMO, but I'm really tempted.
Me too, because I heard that the story, it's like there is some good stuff in there,
and I've heard you can
and
play through it like
basically
completely on your own. Like you don't really have to play with anyone else.
Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
I'm really tempted.
Just a few 3,000 hours to put into.
Yeah, we got a few thousand hours on hand, right? There's no other games out.
Yeah. But yeah, big moves there.
One thing that I thought was interesting about Yakuza, which I'm curious to get your take on this, is if I understood this right, it's going to be a timed exclusive for Xbox and PC.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
If I read that right, then yeah, it's going to be a timed exclusive, not on PlayStation, which is bizarre to me.
Since for the most part it was only available.
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess I got an Xbox now. I have not heard that. If that's the case, tough luck for me, I guess. 2020 sucks.
It's just really so surprising to me because, like you said, they started on PlayStation.
I mean, it was only now the big move that they moved or are moving all the games to Steam and to PC. So that is surprising, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to look this up just to make sure that I wasn't thinking about something else. But yeah, this says Sega has confirmed that the next gen version of Yakuza Like a Dragon will be an Xbox Series X timed exclusive. Although it also says the game will be released in the West for Xbox One, PS4, and PC in November 2020.
Oh, I think what it might be is I saw something that
Is it just not going to
the
be on the
yeah
PS5 for a certain amount of time?
yeah I think there wasn't a release date mentioned at all or release planned or something for the next generation. And it may tie into that it will release on all current gens, but that for the next gen it will be timed exclusive for Xbox 3 or whatever.
Okay, that is very confusing.
Yeah,
So it'll be available for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on release, and then it'll only be on the Series X for a certain
at
amount of
some point
time,
for
and
some
then
time.
PlayStation 5 will get it at some point. What a mess. Okay, well,
But if the PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible, like how does that then work out?
I
Did
don't
you then
know.
play the
That's
slightly worse
that's
graphics?
the other thing about like all this talk about, like, are they going to get a PS5 version of the game? And it's like almost all the games are going to work. PS5 is going to be backwards compatible with like
Yeah.
99% of the PS4 games. So, I'm not too concerned, honestly, uh, about what's going to work on, or if we're going to get a remaster or anything like that, because I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So anyway, uh, weird story with that. All right. Let's move on. We have been. Oh wait, who was this? Luckless's question that he put in here.
I don't know. Could be my question. I put a question in there, I think.
There was a question that somebody had posted in here. What are your top 4 female video game characters?
That was me.
Why 4, Akko?
Well,
I don't know if I could
because
come
I
up with
start
4.
because first of all, top three plus an honorable mention. But I also just saw a tweet about that on Twitter, and I thought it was a nice, fun idea to think about. And I could only upload 4 pictures there. So. There you have the
Um.
lore on that.
All right. Well. Okay. So the question
While you
is.
think, okay, well, maybe while you think about it, the ones that I posted were or those were the ones that first came to mind, at least. Then I saw a few more posts where it was like, yeah, I really like that character too. It was, for one, April Ryan of fame from The Longest Journey and Dreamfall series. I mostly took main characters, so I think that is what I put. But side characters allowed too. Siri, obviously from Witcher 3. I think I picked Zoe from Uncharted Lost Legacy. And
It's a good choice.
why do I have to pick 4?
I don't know, Akko. Why do you?
Well, I have to think about my 4th pick that I did yesterday or the day before.
So I'm gonna throw out some. Aloy, first one that I thought of was Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. I love Aloy as a character. Um, I love how, confident she is, and how I love how in Horizon, like, people are always flirting with her, and she's just like always turning them down. She's like, I'm just gonna go do this on my own, and people are like, you want some help with this? And she's like, I work better on my own. um, I love Aloy. The next one that just like immediately came to mind was Lara Croft, but I mean that's like really cliche. But I mean I do really like Lara Croft, especially in the new ones. Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. Um, let's see who else.
Vermalt has my 4th pick, Morgan from Dragon Age.
Oh,
Then I
okay,
saw, I didn't think about it, but Jack and Tali from Mass Effect, of course.
yeah. Oh shoot, I had one that I was going to mention. Oh, Alex. Alex Vance from Half Life. Very good character. Who do we got in chat? Aloy's a good choice. Morgan. Jill
Kate
from
Walker from
RE.
Siberia, interesting.
Who?
Kate Walker from Siberia.
Oh yeah, the Siberia games. Those are really good. Okay, Kate Walker, Aloy Samus, Lara Croft, Elizabeth from Bioshock. That's a good one from Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah. Some
I would throw out
Faith from
Yuna.
Mirror's Edge.
That's a good one. I would throw out Yuna from Final Fantasy X. Clementine from Walking Dead. I'm just looking through lists of female game characters now. Tali, that's definitely a good one. Lightning, Final Fantasy 13. Debatable. Yeah, good choices though.
Let us know
Lulu
about your
from Final
favorites
Fantasy
also in the
10.
comments. So
Yeah, let us know in the comments who your. It has to be top four.
Yes, before.
No, just your favorite female video game characters. Tifa, that's a good one.
I like it higher. It's a German joke.
Oh, okay.
Somehow we'll get it.
All right. Let's move on to our game of the generation discussion, which we were so rudely interrupted last time by the internet just completely breaking last time.
We broke the internet.
But so what we have been doing, if you're new here, or if you're just listening to this for the first time, we have been gathering a games of the generation discussion. We've been talking about not necessarily like our favorite games, doesn't have to be our favorite games, but just standout games from this past generation that we thought have stood out and just meant something, have been meaningful, or just ones that we want to mention. So far we have mentioned Dark Souls 3, The Witcher 3, Watch Dogs 1, Fortnite, Rocket League, Persona 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and PT. Which one do we want to go with this time? Or we'll each pick one.
After, I think last time I picked PT and then the internet.
That's right. And I was going to pick one, but then I decided to wait and leave everybody on a cliffhanger. So I think I am going to go with probably one of my favorite games of all time. I think maybe even like definitely top 3 games of the generation for me. And that's going to be Bloodborne. Bloodborne is like the quintessential Souls game to me. It takes the formula and changes it just enough to make it just so satisfying, so fun to play. It's very visceral. It forces you to really kind of change your way of playing. There were a lot of people when they first played that game, they were like, where's my shield? Because everybody was used to playing Dark Souls games with a shield, and it forced you to not play with a shield. It forced you to be more aggressive. One of my favorite mechanics of that game is the health gain or regain mechanic, where you can get hit, you can take some damage, but then if you quickly attack again, you can gain health back to it. The music in Bloodborne is 10 out of 10. I'm usually not huge on music in video games, but the music in Bloodborne is just one of my favorite, if not my favorite, soundtracks of any video game ever. It has these amazing orchestral tracks that play when you go into these boss arenas. The bosses themselves are just fantastic. The environments, I love the environments in this game. This old kind of Victorian style setting. Yeah, Bloodborne. It may be my game of the generation for me. It's hard to surpass that for me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Bloodborne as well. I think for me, it doesn't rank as high for me personally, but what I maybe one of the things that I overall didn't enjoy personally, but what I thought was very interesting and made the game really stand out amongst other things was the setting, kind of this Lovecraftian Victorian era style to it. That was very interesting, and it looked great. And like you said, I also agree that the music, the score of the game is fantastic. Really plays into that, and just I mean, if you would have like after playing Dark Souls 1 said that one of the best Souls games will be a Lovecraftian horror game with guns, probably most people would have looked at you very strangely, but they really nailed that. And fantastic game, definitely one of the defining games of the generation, not only because of its quality, but also it sold very well. It was a PS4 exclusive. I think one of the like not the but one of the early PS4 exclusive that was really the one to get. Where a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I'm
It's the
getting the
game. Yeah,
PS4
I
of
didn't
this."
mention that, but it literally like was the game that made me buy a PS4.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of you feel that way and still feel that way, especially now that the price of the PS4 dropped, and people who haven't played Bloodborne and haven't had because they didn't have a PS4 are still considering getting the console just for this game, pretty much. So I think that speaks volumes about the quality and the impact Bloodborne really had on this generation.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bloodborne. Like, I mean, I don't know how else I can say it's a genre or a generation defining game for me, since it literally did cause me to buy a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you got?
What do I got? Hmm. Lots of things to pick. I think since I put so much time into it, it is probably another obvious pick here, but it is Red Dead Redemption 2. And I mean, I know some people might be familiar with the game, have heard of it here or there,
I've heard of it.
but yeah, but I really have to say it is just it is a fantastic game, and not, certainly one of the defining games in terms of visuals, in terms of the scale, just the amount of effort put into the production of this game is mind blowing, and it really also had some gameplay aspects to it that were new. I always thought of it more of a kind of Wild West simulation than anything else.
Yeah,
But I think that is also why I enjoyed it. I think it was not the action game a lot of people described it to be. It was not really the same as a GTA with cowboys. It was really a simulation of that. And I personally always felt like if you took your time, the more time you took to play the game and just immerse yourself in the world, the more you got out of it. To just sit down and be a bandit for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours and just really get into it. And if it's just fishing for 3 hours, then it's just fishing for 3 hours. It was part of the experience. And I think that is a very unique concept that you can't pull off with many topics, but especially since we don't have many Wild West era games right now, probably also because of the success of the Red Dead Redemption games, but still, also just the as I mentioned, but just the scale, the game length, but also just the map and so much attention to detail that you're used to from Rockstar, but they really outdid themselves with the game. So yeah, that, that's
yeah.
why it comes for me on the list.
I think that's definitely a great choice. I mean, it is the only Rockstar game that we've gotten this generation, and Rockstar is always just uh,
GTA 5,
well, that was last gen.
really?
Yeah, I know it's
Oh,
crazy, but yeah,
yes,
it came out right at the end, and then
true. Yeah, no,
remastered
you're
it
right.
for PS5 and Xbox One, and apparently they're remastering it for PS5.
Of course, I
They're
mean,
just
it's still in the top 10 best-selling games each month.
every
So
week. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, very good choice. Yeah, let us know in the comments what your game of the generation is. Again, it doesn't have to be necessarily your favorite game of all time or your favorite game of this generation. We're just looking for games that are standout games, games that we feel like left an impact on us for one reason or another. And yeah, I'm still enjoying that. So now we have Dark Souls 3, Witcher 3, Watch Dogs 1, Fortnite, Rocket League, Persona 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, PT, Bloodborne, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Akko, what do you got coming up next week?
How? I will continue with Mafia 3. I will continue with Mass Effect Andromeda. I will continue with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the DLCs. I forgot about talking about that, but I entered a new map portion of the DLC. It's like a big new map or fairly big map. I'm still a little bit on the fence in terms of what I think about it. So I will probably talk about that more next time on the podcast. But those are the big plans. I also try to find some time to get back into doing stuff for YouTube here and there. So look out for that.
Very cool. Let's see. I'll be continuing Deus Ex during the days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Stream at 2 p.m. Central Time, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays I do a night stream at 9 p.m. Central Time, and I'm playing through Ghost of Tsushima at nights and really enjoying those. As far as announcements go, I don't think that we have too many. I mean, I know there are some more game announcements coming up, but I don't think that there's anything notable coming up next week. There's a lot. It seems like there's always a few small things that are going on, but I try to cover as many of those as I can. You can watch this podcast if you want to live every week, every Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central Time. And that's 9 p.m. European Time. We do it live here on twitch.tv/how451. Akko, I want to thank you so much for joining me as always. And I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you, everyone. We are going to say goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.